Hey, what's going on, everybody? We're back with another BKFC Reddit Ask Me Anything. We're joined by the man himself, Marcus Bad Intention Edwards. How are you doing, sir?
I'm doing great, man. Can't complain. Feeling good, feeling ready.
Okay, so I've been talking to Kamosi a lot, so he wanted me to ask his question first. He said, "When will we see you start breaking out some dance moves in the ring?"
Oh man, I'm always dancing at the gym when I'm fighting. I'm hoping this fight, that I kind of have that fight where it brings it out of me. I like they say styles make fights, and unfortunately, a lot of the guys I've been fighting haven't been really fighting me back, so it's forcing me to fight a different type of fight. I'm hoping that we get in here and Dakota fights me back, and we have this back and forth where we can play the game and have some fun and get these feet moving and get some dancing in there. So probably this fight, but it depends on my opponent.
Okay, so talking about Dakota, you have fought him before. Like Chris said, "Hey, did you know they had fought before?" And I did not, but he said that you guys fought in MMA before. How did that fight go? I mean, was it a close fight?
Ah man, yeah, it was the furthest thing from close. I believe it was first seconds or the first minute of the first round. We met in the middle and we both collided, and one of us went down and one of us stayed standing. And I was fortunate enough. God blessed me with that win, and I got my hand raised, and yeah, I was unscathed. So a lot of people that know that I fought him and saw the fight, they're like, hey, do you feel that you're going to come in there and do it again? I'm like, man, I hope he's killing himself to get that win back. I hope he's killing himself to come in and fight that battle because I've been wanting it, and I believe he's the guy to give it to me. So yeah, I'm excited to fight him again, and put another notch, on my record with fighting him. I don't want to. There's no more threes. You should get that second one, no rematch, two and done. You know what I mean?
One of my favorite things about talking to like real warriors like yourself, you don't want an easy fight. You don't want to go in there and one punch knock him out. You
No.
want that fight that you prove to yourself and you prove to everybody else that you're such a warrior. Like why is that?
I mean, I want to say, I went 11-0 as an amateur. All 11 of my fights combined, I think, was like 4 or 5 minutes all combined. So I have a lot of that. My beginning of my fight, my pro career, I have a lot of just first round knockouts, and I don't feel that I get to like enjoy myself and have that fun in there and express myself and release that energy within me. Like obviously, getting in there and getting a quick win is always a blessing. But being able to go in there and put on a show and display, what God has blessed me with, and to have fun and to push myself, and to go through trials and tribulations and to break down walls. I think that's just, something that I feel blessed to be able to do. Not a lot of people get to test themselves and break walls and run through, that brick wall when they hit it, or, push themselves past what they feel they're capable of. So being able to do that, I feel blessed to be able to do it. So yeah, it's an exciting thing to get in there and have a war and have some fun and push myself through those moments and come out on top.
So a lot of us know that you train at Genesis. You're going to be on the card. We also know that Romario Figueroa is going to be on the card. Have you guys been training
Yeah.
together for this fight?
Yes, sir. Yeah, that's my boy, man. He's another, hometown dude from Colorado, up and coming, just smoking dudes.
Yeah.
We've been, doing a lot of, strength and conditioning together, sparring. He's a phenomenal fighter, another up and coming guy. Coming out of Colorado, he's been cross training with Genesis, over there with Jake. And yeah, dude, I'm excited to watch him. I hope I have a moment to catch his fight before mine, because I already know that guy comes and he brings it. He's putting guys to bed. He's finishing guys, devastation. Hometown dude just knocking dudes out, going to BK, knocking dudes out, making them throw up and finish. Like, yeah, he's another exciting guy to keep your eye on for sure.
I want to see him tested. Like his first two fights, yeah, he's looked phenomenal, but he
Hmm.
needs he needs somebody to test him. So I'm hoping that's what happened in this fight. I mean, he is in the top 5 now, so like he's going to start fighting
Hmm.
tougher guys. But like you said, I mean, we've seen him make the guy throw up. We've seen him just beat the piss out of people. You know what I mean? Like, and
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
time to see him tested.
Yeah, and I will say, there's some people that I come across. I'm like, yeah, and once this guy fights a tough guy, then maybe. But sparring with him and training with him, he's that guy. You know what I mean? There's some guys that just get by getting easy fights, and they're just right above average, and they're smoking
Sure.
these guys, and they look good, and then they get a tough fight, and they crumble. This ain't that guy. I can put my word and my name behind him. I mean, I've sparred with hundreds of people, if not thousands of different people, and he falls into that bracket of that motherfucker. Excuse my language, but that dude. You know what I mean? So yeah, I put my money on him every day of the week.
Talking to you and talking to Gertz, I don't know who's more excited. It seems like Gertz
Mhm.
really loves coaching now. Like, I mean, he loves fighting. Don't get me wrong, like absolutely.
Mhm.
But he's really like relishing in this, like coaching you guys and getting you ready. What's it like having like a veteran like that who's a killer in the gym, but also brings everything to the coaching realm?
Man, it's a blessing to be able to train with such a high level athlete, create that bond, create that camaraderie and brothership, fight on the same card, go through those camps together, and then for that guy to turn around and be able to be your coach and give you the knowledge, and he has the know, he has the how and the why. And not only that is that you have that trust within that person because you've bled, sweat, and cried with that guy, through fight camps, through, battles and wars, injuries. So having, a person like Gertz with his experience, with all the tough fights he's had, and now transitioning into, coaching me for this fight, and having that connection, which is the biggest thing, is being able to have that communication without communicating, is a blessing that I wasn't expecting. And I was expecting maybe him to even be on the card, not being in my corner coaching me. So it's a blessing, and he's going to be out there having my back, and it's just going to make it that much sweeter of a win to go out there to have, two of the, dopest coaches behind me, pushing me through whatever I'm going to go through.
Okay, without giving too much away, I had heard you were supposed to be on a really big card prior to this one, but now you're fighting Dakota Cochran, who's the number one guy. Is it more important to you to fight the number one guy and move up the rankings, or would you have loved to have been on a huge card and get that exposure?
Man, for me, it's like I feel like I'm one of those guys that I don't, even if I'm on a big card, I don't really, I don't know, it's kind of hard to explain. I don't feel like a lot of people are talk about me. I don't feel like I'm like relevant. You know what I
Sure.
mean? So I feel like I would rather fight the guru than to go fight some nobody on a big card, being the first few fights on the card. I don't care about being big. I don't care about all that nonsense. I want to fight the toughest. I want to win. I want a title. By fighting these fights and walking through these dudes the way I've been doing it, and enjoying it, having fun, dancing my way out there, enjoying the life that God blessed me with. I believe that in return, that is gonna turn around to be the big show. I am going to be that big show. They're going to want to watch me, to see me fight the Mike Perrys, the big guys out there. Once they see, okay, this guy is the the real deal. He's really putting dudes down. He's out here, having fun and enjoying this. So I believe that, fighting the guru is the way to go for me every time of the week.
It's kind of crazy that you have several ranked 175ers on the card, and those guys aren't fighting. They gave you the number one shot, which I think is fantastic. It kind of, kind of proves something that like BKFC, I think the brass sees a lot behind you.
Yeah, they have me sitting at like heavyweight or light heavyweight ranked.
Yeah.
I've never fought at that weight before. So I'm not sure why I'm in that weight class, but I'm a big dude. I walk around like 230, you know what I mean?
Jeez.
So
Yeah.
I mean, I walk around 225, 230, fat and happy. So, but I definitely don't fight that heavy. So I'm not sure if I'm just not ranked because they have me in that weight class and I'm not actually fighting in that weight class, or if I should be ranked or what. I'm undefeated. I don't know. But either way, they know that when I come out banging. I fight bell to bell. I force the fight. I have fun. I'm throwing bangers. So I don't think you can go wrong with me being a main event or co-main event, fighting the best dudes, like they say style makes fights, and as long as there's a guy out there fighting me and in front of me forcing the fight, it's going to be a show regardless. So, that's what I think that they're looking for, and I think that's what they're going to get.
So if people are listening, you might not know, but you're a guy who likes tattoos. You recently got like, was it a sleeve or was it a leg sleeve? I love your new work.
Yeah, yeah. Uh, After my last fight, man, a bunch of people were hitting me up. They're excited about the fight. That offering me all types of things, and the one guy hit me up and was like, man, it was like five different tattoo artists, but this guy, he is like, yo, no offense, but your tattoos are trash. I want to put some beautiful art on you and free of charge. I'm a fan. After watching you live, I'm a big fan, and I wanna give you something of mine as a token. And I'm like, sweet. And it. I signed up to do it, and I'm thinking it's gonna be like just this little, like maybe a little tattoo. He's like, "What do you want?" I'm like, I've been thinking about this. He's like, "Oh, a full leg sleeve. Let's do it. No problem. How long you sit? So I think I did. I finished the whole except for the inside of my leg. We're gonna finish that up after the fight because I was getting too close to fight camp. But yeah, I got pretty much a whole leg sleeve in like 2 days, 2.5 days. I think it was like 16 hours of work. And that his name is Octay over at Cleopatra Inc. over off of um, Broadway and I-25. So if you're out there, you're looking for a great artist, yeah, I'll go ahead and step back and like let you get a little. It's a little. I don't know if you can see this, man, but it's beautiful, man. I have a full on serial killer piece. I've always been pretty invested and interested in like the mind of serial killers, so I
Sure.
decided to go ahead and just put it on my leg, man.
Okay, so you mentioned serial killers. My wife works in corrections. She loves, she's actually worked with people who've been on TV shows for being like killers and stuff before. Like, what is it about like serial killers that you're so like drawn in by?
Man, it's for me, I think a lot of it is like these people can just like go about their everyday life with no feelings, no emotions, but be a chameleon and adapt and be like, oh, well, people act this way, so I have to act like I have sympathy. I have to act like this and live a normal life and like be your best friend, have a 9 to 5, and then in the middle of the night, they're out doing some wild, crazy shit without any remorse, without any feelings. They don't bat an eye, and they wake up the next morning with no feeling of like, dang, I did some nasty crazy things last night, so I got to do it again. So that transition I kind of feel like I can relate to, because like I'm kind of like a 100% different person than when I'm in the cage or the ring than I am in my normal life, like, and that switch, it just happens, so that I feel like I'm happy that I'm fighting, you know what I mean? Because I have that switch in me. So I feel like it's something that I'm finding within myself, but also like I can like, kind of see it and be like, huh, like that's interesting. And I want to dive deeper into it. So I haven't been too deep into it lately. I have to get away from it because you can, dive down that rabbit hole and get
Gotcha.
lost, just like with anything. But yeah, dude, that's what it is. It's just the mindset of being able to like do this crazy nonsense and then wake up the next day and kiss your kids bye to school and go to work and like, yeah, that's just the crazy thing to me, that people can do that.
You are kind of a Jekyll and Hyde. You talk to you and you're happy go lucky and stuff, and then you see you in the ring and you are a psychopath.
Yeah.
The one person that I think in MMA that like kind of gives off that serial killer vibe, and I'm sure he's not, but Fedor. Like Fedor
Oh,
back in the
Fredo
day.
Marco.
Oh my gosh, right?
Yeah,
Like
yeah, 100%, 100%. Yeah, it's so funny. I always come across some people too. I'm like, man, this guy has some traits, man. I wonder, like, yeah, no, that's interesting. But yeah, I definitely do turn it off and switch it up, and yeah, it's definitely a cool thing to be able to have, and a lot of fighters have to have that switch. I'm sure they can all relate to, and a lot of men in general. You have to have that switch to be like, hey, I'm an alpha male and I gotta stand my ground. Or, some guys don't have it nowadays. They call them soy boys.
all right, Coach Jake sent in a question. He said, "What is your main goal and your main motivation while chasing this title?"
Man, my main goal is to be a world champion. Obviously, that's I want to say that's everybody's dream that's out there. If that's not what they're after, and pressing themselves and pushing themselves to reach new heights, like then I don't know what they're doing it for. But yeah, that's my thing. And then my motivation is, man, I becoming a father and having a daughter and like being that inspiration and just seeing how much she looks up to me and like everything I do matters. I think that has been my new motivation. Now that I have a kid, is just showing her the way, like just being a badass and taking care of business, being a man of my word. You say something, you do it, being out there and competing at the highest levels. I think that's just, not a lot of kids get to grow up to see their dad training and fighting on television and, competing with some of the toughest dudes in the world and like being able to be this crazy psychopath, like you said in there, and then just come home and be this sweet teddy bear and loving and caring and understanding. So yeah, I think that's my biggest motivation, is just making my daughter proud and providing the things for her that, I never had.
One of my favorite things about you girl dad fighters is you guys are in there and you're fighting and you're bloody, and the next day you're at like a pageant or you're at like a dance
Yeah.
recital or something like that. Like, are you
Yeah,
looking forward to that?
gymnastics.
Yeah,
Yeah.
gymnastics, exactly.
Yeah, yeah, no, definitely. It's definitely, like I said, it's a switch, man. And yeah, there's a lot of us out there that, I think the girl dads, are scary guys, man. You got to watch out for these dudes because I feel like we have a chip on our shoulder having beautiful darters out there that you got to scare those boys away that are going to be, those little demons around them. You know what I mean? Like, hey, I ain't gonna mess with her because her dad, I don't know, he might nut up. So yeah, so that's a thing for sure.
Okay, so I'm good friends with Jake. Are you a conspiracy theorist like Jake? Like I talk to
Oh
Jake and he goes off the deep end sometime. Are you like that or you're not?
yeah, I'm 100%. That's why Jake and I connect so well. I mean, I'm deep into the conspiracy, health, everything. I'm into it. But during fight camp, I literally have to cut everything off. I'm like not on social media because I dive down rabbit holes, the conspiracy, government, conspiracy, food, aliens. Like that's like a big part of my life. And it's funny because like my daughter's like, yeah, daddy, I told them the world was flat and they told me I'm lying. And I'm like, like her mom's like, man, like, I don't know. You got to be careful what you're telling her. I'm like, these are my beliefs.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's just like, it's funny. It's definitely funny because, there's a lot of people that are like, man, you're crazy. You're this, you're that. But man, when you're around like-minded people, man, it's so refreshing. And being around Jake and Amanda and a lot of guys at the gym, it's just like a lot of the energy is just the same energy. They say, good energy attracts, and I think we attracted a lot of really good guys at Genesis, and we have a really good thing going on there. We're all pretty much in the same page, same mindset, and it's always good communication.
It is. I mean, Genesis is its own breed, and I love that you guys started your own bare knuckle thing. You have two champions. You got Courtney's a champion. You got Chris who's a champion. Like you guys really focus and you grab this whole bare knuckle thing and you're running headlong into it.
Oh yeah, man. I mean, Jake really took the bull by the horns on this one and started a whole its own class on its own day. He's been you know affecting the art of the hand fight, the clinch, and bouncing things off of the guys that have fought, and really being able to work and intertwine and like, hey, like, does this work if we do this, and how do and putting his own expertise with the guys that have been getting the experience and how we feel or what works in there. And we're really, I feel like we're going to be one of the bigger gyms that, I mean, we are like the only gym that is doing the BK thing. So a lot of guys come there, and and everybody knows, Jake has the best hand wraps, man.
That's what
So
I hear.
he's perfected those hand wraps for BK. It's like you're wearing a glove, you know what I mean? So, he's definitely gonna be the man leading the way with the BK, I feel, with the wrapping of the hands and the understanding of doing that, and as well as, putting the boxing together with the street fight, MMA, background type. It's really progressing. And it's really amazing to see. Today they had a seminar. I wasn't able to make it because obviously I'm in fight camp. I got a lot going on. But yeah, they had a seminar today, and unfortunately I missed it, but I'm sure it was just amazing.
It's funny because last time Jake and I talked, he was giving me all these secrets, and then he watched the video and he goes, "Can you go back and edit out that part?" He goes, "I don't want people to know." He goes, I'm fine if you know, but you guys
Yeah,
have come up with some stuff that like
yeah.
nobody else knows." And watching a couple of the fights, you actually see it paying dividends. So like what
Hmm.
you know exactly what I'm talking about. I'm sure.
Yeah, yeah, 100%, man. Jake, I think Jake's just ahead of the game with the bare knuckle and just being such a great coach. He's, like I said, he dove in head first and is really, it's hard. I want to say that it's hard to be a coach that you're coaching boxers, you're coaching MMA, kickboxing, jujitsu guys, all in their own respecting thing, and then all of a sudden you got a bunch of dudes like, hey, we're doing BK. And
Yeah.
you're like, man, I'm being pulled 1,000 ways. A lot of guys can just be like, oh, I'm just gonna coach you, you know. But instead of him just being a coach, he's like, you know what? I'm gonna dive into this. I'm gonna figure it out. I'm gonna learn what I can learn and put my own footstep, my own stamp on this, and create a better style for whatever we're doing, or help you with your style with the knowledge I have that we can create with around the BK. BK it's its own sport. It's not boxing. It's not MMA. It's its own energy. So for him to be able to do that with everything he's already doing, running a business and doing all that, man, I applaud him and I give him my most utmost respect to be able to take the time and to perfect that and to put that love into the guys that decided to do BK.
Here, let me ask you this. I had heard that your first couple fights in bare knuckle, you're injured or you had an injury, and that like we hadn't seen you for a long time because you were actually getting that addressed. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, man, I've been so before this year, it's been about a year since I had surgery, but for about 6.5 years, man, I was struggling. I even took 4 years off because I was like, oh, maybe I just need to take a break. But I fought my last 3 or 4 MMA fights with this, and then I fought my first two BK fights, and then after my second BK fight, in my second BK fight, I just fell. I just fell like 4 times. And Jake and I had a conversation, and he's like, hey, man, you just need to go get your hip checked out. My hip's
Yeah.
been, I used to sleep about 2 to 3 hours of sleep a night. I didn't sleep well. I can only walk for about 5 to 10 minutes consecutively. For this was going on for like 6 years before I had to sit down and take a break. Or if I would go to a concert, everybody had to wait on me, and I was just that ball and chain. But I had pretty much. My hip just needed to be replaced. I was had like it was splintering. It was bad. I went into the doctor to just to get it looked at, possibly get some PRP and some stem cells. And he was like, "You're joking, right?" I'm like, "What are you talking about?" He's like, "You don't have a walker or something, a cane?" I'm like, "Nah." I'm like, "What are you talking about?" He's like, this is what I specialize in, and I your hip is worse than an 80-year-old athlete's hip that has had tremendous damage to it done to it. He was like, and I was like, "Are you joking?" He's like, "For you to just walk in here like this, it's like." He brought in 2 other people, and they're like, "Yeah, you're joking," and I'm like, "No," and I was like, "Yo," I showed him my last fight, and he's like, "Dude," he's like, "I'm booked for 2 months." He's like, "But morally, I cannot allow you to walk out of here without getting you set up with surgery because your life, I'm sure your life is hell." I'm like, "Yeah, it is." He's like, either you possibly never fight again and you feel amazing, or you go through hell and go through fights and destroy yourself and possibly lose. He's like, but best case scenario, you have a great surgery, you turn around and you fight. He's like, anything we do for you, you're gonna feel 100% after this. So I made the decision right there. I was like, you know what, let's just get it done. I want to be a father and do trampolines and runs and play on the playground with my daughter because I had never been able to do that. So I was like, let's get it done. So I got my hip replaced, and my last fight was my first fight with my. It was literally like I got my hip replaced. I recovered for 3 months, and then I got into a 2-month fight camp, and then I fought 5 months after I got my hip surgery. So yeah, man, I feel amazing though. I felt so good, and I can only imagine how good I'm gonna feel now because my last fight, I was jumping in way too far. I was way too far. I wasn't expecting to feel so good that I was over. My movement was just too much that I hadn't dialed it in yet because I this is a new hit, man. You know, I'm over here like, you know, I have to warm this thing up. But once I got in there, it was like, shit, like I was moving too good. So now I'm dialing things in. Things will be a lot more crisp and on point, and you know, I won't be too far, too close, and you know, we've been dialing that in. So yeah, I got my hip replaced.
Your last fight, it was almost as if the referee forgot what a knockdown was. Are
Man.
you any concern going into this one?
Well, you know, in within the fight, it was very frustrating to hit somebody, see myself cut his eye open, him hit the ground, and the ref say slip. I
Yeah.
knocked him down 11 times, and I believe he called two of them knockdowns. One of them was 100% slip. We broke it all down. All the rest were clean knockdowns. And I mean, it could have played a factor in the fight
Absolutely.
if it was a close fight and I've been dropped 3 or 4 times and you know it was a back and forth and you know I just think that was just really poor reffing, you know, especially let's just say somebody's flopping and they're getting hit and falling. He's down. He's not a
Sure.
slip. You don't ask him if he's okay. You don't ask him if he wants to keep fighting. You stop the fight. If you have to ask a person after being put on the canvas 10 times if they still want to fight, you should probably be calling the fight. You know, I just don't think that's safe for a person to get hit that many times and drop or for you know them to continuously take a knee. It just doesn't make good fights and it makes what we're trying to create look bad. You know, there's a lot of variance, but you know I will say is like I hope I never have that guy again, because a lot of guys are going to hit the canvas with me and I don't want to continuously have to be like, oh, it's a slip, okay, well why is this nose broken? You know, so yeah, it was very, very frustrating in the fight. And there was one moment, may I add, he hit the ropes and he's sitting on the ropes
Sitting on the ropes. That's a
on
knockdown.
the bottom ropes. To my knowledge, it's a knockdown. So I
Yeah.
stop fighting. And he looks at me, keep fighting. And the guy comes off the ropes and hits me while I stop, boom, smacks me right in my face. So we start fighting. Then the next round, he sits on the ropes again. So I start smoking him. And then he stops the fight and tells me not to hit him on the ropes. I'm
Yeah.
like, and then we get into it. The ref and I get into an argument. I'm like, yo, make your mind up, bro. You literally just told me to keep fighting while he's on the ropes. And now you're telling me not like, it was all over the place, you know. And my corners, you know, were going crazy, like, you know, like these are knockdowns, like what are you doing? He's arguing with my coaches. It was just a bad deal, dude. But you know, I was locked in. It didn't affect me as much fighting. I was gonna fight. I was locked in. But it was very frustrating having to communicate with the ref because the last thing I want to do is talk to the ref or have any type of communication with the ref while I'm fighting. You know, the ref should be doing his job and be like, you know, that guy in the corner you don't notice until you
Sure.
need him, you know. So, you know, that was just the biggest thing is just me interacting and talking to the ref is just something I'm not like I don't like doing. I want to be locked in. I want to be in the fight and I want to be put on a show, not having arguments with the ref because he's calling bad things.
Do you feel like you go out there, you beat Dakota, you beat him in an impressive fashion, it automatically puts you up there at the top one? Do you feel like it puts you like, somewhere in the top five? Like, what does this fight do for you?
Oh man, I feel like I beat Dakota. I'm next up for the title, man. I mean that dude's out there, redneck Mondale Dave. He's out there telling people no one wants to fight him and all this jazz. I have nothing but respect for the guy, but within this sport, I mean, we could toe to toe any day of the week. You know what I mean? I'm over here. I'm looking for souls. I'm looking for heads. You know what I mean? I'm over here. I want the tough fights. I want the hard fights. You know what I mean? I want the title, and you have it. And he seems to think nobody wants to fight him when I'm over here biting at the bit. So you know what I mean? And I believe Dakota's biting at the bit too. You know, Dakota and I, we've communicated, we've talked. You know, here and there. He reached out to me when I had my hip done, and you know, before a fighter once before. So we've always kind of came in like you know, we've stayed in contact every so often. So, you know, we both want the title. So we about to go out there and bang because I believe one of us is up next. You know
Sure.
what I mean? And I believe I go out there and I fight my fight and I do what I know that I'm capable of doing and what I've been busting my ass to do. I believe I'm up next for the title, man. I'm not here to play games or to have fun or to show off on social media and act crazy. Like, I'm gonna be myself. I'm gonna be a parent that my daughter can go back and look up to and say, "Oh, damn, that's my dad," and be proud of the things I've done, and go in here and bust heads. And that's what I'm here to do. I'm here to take souls, bust heads, and make dudes rethink what they're doing. And in return, I hope somebody does the same. I hope somebody's in here trying to crack my skull because that just makes me fight better.
Well, I'm looking forward to meeting you. I'll be in Omaha too. I'm bringing the wife and the kid. Omaha's like 9 hours
Nice.
away from us, so we go. And when I heard you and Jake and all those guys are going to be there, I was like, absolutely, we got to go.
Yeah.
So my last question I always ask people is involves street fighting. Do you remember the first time you were in a street fight? The first time you punched somebody out of anger, like in elementary school, one of those times? Can you tell us about
Yeah.
it?
I will tell you right off the back, I've never fought anybody with anger. I've never hit anybody out of anger.
Okay.
I've never been a guy that goes out and fights people. I've always been like a protector, standing up for people. Or, if some dude's acting some type of way, I'll stand up and be like, yo, I'm the guy. You want to fight? I'm that dude. All right. But my very first fight was my sister, she's handicapped. So
Okay.
she used to ride my bus because her program was at my school. And I was in sixth grade, so it was like my first year, and my sister's probably in like 11th to 12th grade at the time, but her program was at the middle school, and they would have the kids sit in the first like two or three rows, and no one knew she was my sister because it was like second, third week of school, and I would sit like 5 seats behind her, and then some dude's picking on my sister, and he's an eighth grader. And he's an eighth grader, right? So, he's big bad. They sit in the back of the bus and they all think they're tough or whatnot. And, at this time I'm wrestling, I'm boxing, judo, all that. So I'm like very confident, but no one knows I do this stuff, because it's all outside of school. But
Sure.
yeah, so he starts picking on my sister, and obviously I say some stuff. He starts acting tough, and then there's this one kid, I'll never forget his name. His name's Angelo Wallace, big black dude. He was like 6 foot in eighth grade and bigger than everybody. He's like, "Oh yeah, he instigated it. He's like, all right, you gotta fight him at the bus stop." And I'm like, "Oh fuck, I don't want to fight him. I just want to tell him to leave my sister alone." You know what I mean?
Sure.
So I'm like, damn, dude, I'm like the youngest of all these boys. None of my brothers are there. I'm like, I'm alone, just me and my sister. And so I'm like, cool, whatever. And we get off the bus, and this kid had braces. So I was like, I'm just gonna smoke him right in his mouth, right? And I I remember like my dad was always like, yo, you're gonna fight, and you're gonna fight. You don't sit there and talk. You don't you do your work, and you leave. So as soon as we got off the bus, everybody waited for the bus and all the parents to leave. And then like we got in front of each other, and he decided he wanted to talk. And I was like, "Wow!" And just that was it, just one and done. And then yeah, and then I got in a lot of fights after that, because I'm not a guy that sits around and lets people bully people or intimidate people. And I'm that guy that's like, I'll stand, I don't care. And my mom's always told me, like, you better stop doing that. You're gonna find somebody one day that's gonna kill you, and da 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 da. I'm like, Mom, it's just not in me to be quiet. Like if somebody has that energy in them, I will meet them in the middle. If you want it, I can give it to you. If this guy doesn't want to fight you and you want to be a bully, come bully me. That's how I felt growing up. And yeah, I got into a lot of fights over it. So, but yeah.
Well, that's a great story. Is there any message, sponsors, shout outs, anything you'd like to tell the people before we call it a night?
Yeah, I want to shout out my boy, obviously Octay over at Cleopatra Inc. for, man, putting some beautiful work on me. I mean, you'll see it in person. It's absolutely amazing, and I appreciate this guy so much. I also want to thank Genesis, Jake, Amanda, all my teammates for pushing me through this fight camp and just being on my ass and pushing me. Dreamwave, he reached out to me and got my trunks and vest put together. My boy started his own company over at T-Bar Roofing. They've been sponsoring me the last like 2 or 3 fights, just showing love, not only just me but even the local local fights, sponsoring the actual promotions, putting their stuff in the rings, in the cages, and Denver Chiropractic with Trent, just hooking my body up, helping me, stay loose, feeling good. Half Face Blades, once one of Chris Camosi's guys, man.
Yeah.
I'm telling you right now, he's probably one of the, besides Chris Camosi, he's probably the next coolest guy I've ever met, man. He's just down to earth, cool fucking stories. It's always a blessing and an honor to be in the presence of guys that have just lived amazing lives and are willing to, still be happy and joking and can talk about all this stuff and enjoy life with you with their experiences. It's just it's just amazing. I also want to thank Colorado Firearm Academy. He's been by my side since like day one BK, and he's got me my concealed license. He's out there training me with the shooting and the techniques, and making me a killer in the with the guns as well as with my hands. You know what I mean? So yeah, and these are all the guys that have been just sticking by my side and just helping me get through these fight camps and getting ready for everything. So also escape artist.
Move it over
This is
just a little
just
bit.
this
There you
is
go.
some CBD, man. If you guys need some CBD cream that helps with, I mean, I've never been a believer until I got this stuff, and I'm not just saying this. They don't pay me or nothing. I honestly just love this stuff. I put this on after every practice. After my fights, I mean, and I really do feel a difference. I'm like, I don't know what you guys got in here, but but this is the good one. I've had a few people sponsor me and I've never felt anything. But this right here, man. But yeah, that's it. That's all I have. And I want to thank you, man, and BKFC, and thanks for reaching out and giving me the opportunity to get my voice out here and allow people to see a little bit of the other side of me other than just fighting. And BK for giving me the platform to do what I love and to do what God's blessed me to do.
All right, man. Well, I will see you Friday. I can't wait to watch you work, and best of luck. And we'll chat
Thank
after
you.
the fight. All right, man. Have a good
Yes,
night.
sir. Thanks.
Thank you,
Yeah.
sir.
You have a great
Bye.
one. Thank you.
Bye.